All right, today we're going to tackle one of the biggest buzzwords in tech, serverless. I mean, what does it actually mean, and why is it causing such a massive shift in how we build software? So let's get right into it, and we're going to start with a bit of a horror story.
Okay, I want you to imagine something. You're a startup. You've just launched your shiny new app. You're excited, you're ready for millions of users, but the only thing that shows up is a massive server bill. I mean, this was the exact painful reality for one company.
Yeah, every single month they were on the hook for $4,200. This was for their traditional servers, their load balancers, their database, the whole shebang. And this bill, it arrived like clockwork. It didn't matter if they had 1 million users or, well, like in their case, pretty much 0. And here's the kicker. When they actually dug into their metrics, they found that less than 1% of their expensive server capacity was actually being used. Over 99% of what they were paying for was just sitting there, completely idle, just burning cash.
Now, what if I told you they could have run the exact same application for $1.75 a month? No, that is not a typo. From over $4,000 down to less than $2. So the big question, the one we're here to answer, is how on earth is that even possible?
You see that huge gap in cost? It's not just some rounding error. It's a totally different way of thinking. After just 6 months, that startup has spent over $25,000 on these idle ghost servers. And that cost, that's what killed them. It's what put them out of business. And this is the exact problem serverless was born to solve. Okay, so to really wrap our heads around this whole thing, let's use a simple analogy. I want you to forget about servers for just a second and think about something we all understand, getting around town. See, a traditional server setup, it's a lot like owning a car. You buy it, you pay for insurance, parking, gas, 24/7, even when it's just sitting in your garage doing nothing. But serverless, that's like taking a taxi. You only call for one, and you only pay for it when you actually need to go somewhere.
And what's cool is, when you actually break it down, this analogy holds up perfectly. Right, with your own car, you've got that huge upfront cost, plus insurance, gas, all those fixed monthly payments, even when the car's just parked. Now, a taxi service? No upfront cost. You just pay per trip, which means your idle cost is 0. And maintenance? Not your problem. The taxi company handles all of that. And if you and your friends all need a ride, you just call more taxis. The capacity is basically infinite, and it's all on demand. Okay, so you're probably wondering, if you're not paying for a server to be on all the time, how does your code even run? Well, the magic here is in something called event-driven execution. Your code doesn't just sit there waiting around. It gets triggered into action by a specific event. Let me show you with a really clear example. So let's say a user uploads a new profile picture to your app. That simple action, the file upload, that's the event. And that event instantly triggers a tiny, specific piece of code to wake up and run. We call it a Lambda function. Its only job is to grab that photo, create a smaller thumbnail version, and save it. And as soon as it's done, poof, it shuts down. You literally only paid for the fraction of a second it was running. See? That's the core idea right there. Okay, I know what you're thinking. This all sounds a little too good to be true, right? Pay per millisecond, infinite scale. Come on, there has to be a catch. And yeah, there is. To be fair, we have to talk about the main trade-off.
So what is it? What's the downside? I mean, if you don't have a server just sitting there waiting, what happens when you suddenly need one?
The catch has a name. It's called a cold start. It's the small delay you get the very first time a function is called after it's been idle for a while. Let's go back to our analogy. It's just the time it takes for your taxi to show up after you call it. It's not quite as instant as jumping into your own car that's already in the garage. But we're usually talking about a delay of anywhere from a fraction of a second to maybe a couple of seconds.
So, really understanding this cold start trade-off is the whole key to deciding when to use which model. It's not that one is better than the other. It's all about picking the right tool for the job you need to do.
All right, so when should you own the car? Well, you stick with traditional servers if you've got really high, constant traffic. Think of a huge news website on election night. Or when you absolutely, positively cannot have even a millisecond of startup delay. Or maybe if you need some very specific, specialized hardware that has to run for hours and hours.
And on the flip side, when is it time to start hailing taxis? Serverless is an absolute game changer for sporadic or unpredictable traffic.
Workloads that go from 0 users to 10,000 in a flash. It's the perfect choice if your main goal is to wipe out those idle costs, and you just never, ever want to think about managing infrastructure again. And really, that brings us to the biggest takeaway of all. The real promise of serverless isn't just about saving a few bucks. It's about a fundamental shift in what developers get to spend their time on. See, instead of worrying about patching servers and managing capacity and all that infrastructure grunt work, they can focus 100% of their energy on what really matters, writing great code that solves problems for people. This shift is honestly profound. It's basically making the machine itself disappear. The cloud starts to feel like one giant invisible computer. And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. As the very concept of a server fades into the background, what do you think will become the next big challenge, or maybe the next huge opportunity, for the folks who are building our digital world?